the Minnesota Wild. The drought is over, and your Chicago Blackhawks defeat the Minnesota Wild for the first time since 2019 in regulation. And for the first time in regulation in Minnesota since 2017, the Blackhawks defeat the Minnesota Wild, avoiding the season sweep to them and getting a win on this season, being the only team in this season series to win in regulation. Minnesota had to win in overtime 3 times. However, the Blackhawks, to avoid being swept, beat them in the final game of the season against their division foe, wins it in regulation on Minnesota ice. This was a good effort by your Chicago Blackhawks. First period of play, the Hawks were the better team. They may have started off slow, getting outshot 7-4 and the 7-2 in the first 10 minutes of play. But the Hawks in the first period, frankly, were the better team. They started turning their game on when they had their first power play of the game. Shots on goal per period, 11-8 in the first period for your Chicago Blackhawks. 6-14 for Minnesota in the second. 9-7 in favor for the Blackhawks in the third. Total shots on goal, 26-29 in favor for Minnesota. Hawks went 0 for 3 on the power play, so did Minnesota, going 0 for 3. This game was a must. The Hawks were looking to battle and get the victory in Minnesota. And well, they came in on the second of a home and home to beat Minnesota on their home ice. This was a much important team effort win by this young Blackhawk squad, and they did it. First period of play, it was all Minnesota for the first 5 minutes of play. The Hawks were kind of pressed in the defensive zone. Minnesota was shooting them on to Spencer Knight quite a bit. However, the Hawks were able to get a power play midway through the period, moving the puck well, getting 4 shots on goal. Didn't beat Wallstedt. However, then that caused the spark to change in favor for the Hawks. The Hawks then started coming out, putting the puck on net a lot, holding Minnesota just to one more shot for the final 10 minutes of the first period of play. And in this, at 16:22, scored by number 95, Ilya Mikheyev, his 13th of the season. Assisted by number 26, Andrew Mangiapane, to make it a 1-0 Hawks lead over Minnesota. This was all Manja. Manja goes up the ice, dangles through, gets onto the circle, and fake shot, gets it, then a pass right to Mikheyev driving to the net. Mikheyev buries it, and the Hawks lead by 1. Mangiapane, great work to lead to this goal. And then the Hawks nearly scored again. However, it didn't go in the net, and we remain 1-0 after 1. Going into the second period of play, Minnesota starts finding their game after a sluggish start. The Hawks do get on the board more again in this period. The Wild do press coming out of the gates, and the Hawks were kind of helmed. But the Hawks were able to come out moving the puck well, getting a couple chances off. At 11:47 in the second period, coming unassisted, scored by number 98, Connor Bedard, his 28th of the season, to make it a 2-0 game. Bedard, on the end of a shift, goes on a breakaway trying to really beat Johansson, and he does with the strength and puts it in. Hawks lead 2-0 over Minnesota. However, 4 minutes later, Minnesota was able to answer. At 15:47 in the second period, Nico Sturm, coming out of the locker room, puts his 5th on the season, assisted by Haight and Faber to make it a 1-goal game again. Why did I say Sturm coming out of the locker room? Well, he just took a shot block about 2 minutes prior that went off the back of his ankle from a rocket of a shot from Grizzlick. Sturm comes out, puts it in, knuckle puck pass through the 5-hole of Spencer Knight, and it could have been a momentum swinger. And it kind of was. Minnesota then started getting a lot of opportunities off. This leads to the Hawks leading by 1 after 2, however. Going into the third period of play, it was a lot of back and forth play. Hawks get a few high danger chances off. They can't get it into the net. Minnesota then gets an opportunity at 5-on-3 power play midway through the period. Hawks kill that penalty off, kill both penalties off. Then a couple scrubs occurred. Hawks had a few breakaway opportunities. Ryan Green almost put one in. Tyler Bertuzzi almost put one in. And then Hawks get a power play. That was killed off. Minnesota was pressing. Pull their goalie. And with a few seconds left, chaos happens up front of the net. Minnesota shoots it on to the net. Loses control of Spencer Knight. And chaos in the crease. The clock winding down. And Vlasic holds the puck out of the goal, and the Hawks beat the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota 2-1. This was a big win by the Blackhawks. This young Hawks team has been in every one of the games against Minnesota. It was about time they were able to get a victory in Minnesota and against Minnesota this season. They've been pressing, getting opportunities to win games. They fell short on 3 of them, but this time they got it done. This was a big victory by your Chicago Blackhawks. Down in the comments down below, I want to hear what your thoughts were on tonight's action and what you thought of that chaos in the net at the final seconds. And thank you for watching the broadcast. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And most of all, Hawks win! Hawks win! And let's go Hawks!